I've been driving the Sawyer Robertson hype train all offseason long. And we've already gone over this week, the bad list that had Sawyer Robertson as the fourth best quarterback in the Big 12. And I've been saying all offseason long, like legit Heisman dark horse here. I'm not saying Sawyer Robertson's going into this season, he's going to be the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Like that has never happened at Baylor. Okay. That no one's ever gone into the season as the favorite. That's reserved for one or two positions at 4 or 5 schools. Okay. It's not for quarterbacks at Baylor. That said, a quarterback at Baylor has won the Heisman Trophy, and Sawyer Robertson is starting to sneak on to some more people's radar. And that includes those who are making these Heisman dark horse lists. Because this one, the most recent, this is from Andy Staples, who again doesn't like Sawyer Robertson, but reporting through BetMGM is how he makes this. Sawyer Robertson down there at plus 6,600. Dark horse to win the Heisman Trophy. And I know there are Big 12 fans, some college football fans. Shoot, there are probably even some Baylor fans that are looking at this like, come on, guys. Can we pump the brakes? Like, Sawyer Robertson's a nice quarterback. He had room to improve from last year. Why are we even entertaining this discussion? And like, I get it. The more I talk about it, the more I'm like, am I overhyping this kid? And then I watch the games back and I'm like, no, he's really good. Like, he's really good. If I could take the pick of any quarterback in the Big 12 to be my starter, it would be Sawyer Robertson. And I'm not even wearing a Baylor hat when I say that. I would pick Sawyer Robertson. And so I decided, I'm like, why don't I look into the numbers here? Like, what is it actually going to take for Sawyer Robertson to be a legit Heisman Trophy candidate? Because that's reserved for literally the best of the best. And so I looked back at the last 5 Heisman-winning quarterbacks, okay? That would be Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray. And I think that is crucial that they're all from the last 7 years, because I would say probably somewhere around Baker Mayfield, who would have been the 6th on this list, is where the quarterback game just really jumped for college football. Like, the numbers became more like pro numbers. They started really jumping off the page. The touchdowns, the passing yards, the completion percentage. And I found this on the Heisman website, like some of the stats that really intrigued me. And these are the ones you have to hit for yards per game, passing yards, total touchdowns, and quarterback rating. Now, before I get into this, the numbers here, I don't have the yards per play for Sawyer Robertson. I've tried like 6 or 7 different websites. It's not yards per pass attempt. It's not yards per completion. It's yards per play. Okay. And I couldn't find that. I apologize. All right. When we look at that stat, Jaden Daniels is at almost 11 yards per play. Like, that's how elite we're talking here. Caleb Williams at 8, Bryce Young at 8, Joe Burrow at 9.5, Kyler Murray right behind Jaden Daniels, who was at 10.7, Kyler Murray at 10.6. But I'm just getting that out of the way because I don't know what Sawyer Robertson's was this past year. Okay, passing yards. Only one of these guys was kept under 4,000 passing yards. That was Jaden Daniels at 3,800. Joe Burrow led the way with 4,700. Everyone else fill in the blank, somewhere between 4,000 and 4,700. Total touchdowns, got to be a lot. Got to be a lot, fellas. Okay. Bryce Young, the lowest total touchdowns on that list with 46. Okay. Joe Burrow with 51, same as Kyler Murray. Caleb Williams at 47. Jaden Daniels at 50. QB rating, which is the stat that we love with Sawyer Robertson, highest QB rating of any returning starter. 208 for Jaden Daniels, which does lead the way. This is kind of an interesting discrepancy here. You have 3 that are over 200, and the other 2 are under 170. The top 3 are between 200 and 210. And let me just say it. Okay. 208 for Jaden Daniels, 201 for Burrow, 205 for Murray, and then Bryce Young at 167, just ahead of him, Caleb Williams at 168. Let's take a look at that number first. The lowest on there is 167. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can get quarterback rating. A couple of different, websites do it different ways. I'm going with the one that I've seen thrown out the most for Sawyer Robertson, which is 153. That's a solid 14 points behind even the lowest of the last 5 quarterbacks to win the Heisman. Total touchdowns. Remember saying the lowest is 46 for Bryce Young. It's 32 last year for Sawyer Robertson. These do take into account playoff stats as well, which the most these guys had was 2 games, but that is something. And Sawyer basically played about 10 and a half games throughout this season. So he's a little behind on the games. And yards passing, the lowest was 3,800. Sawyer was just under 3,100. Now, again, when you take into account, now this was Jaden Daniels who didn't have a playoff game, but if you get like 3 more games, like this could be basically 3 more games before the Heisman voting, a full 12 plus a 13th potentially for a Big 12 championship and maybe a 14th for a college football playoff. I know that's a lot to ask, but that he gets 700 yards in those games in his sleep, I think, like easily. And the 2 games he didn't have were cream puff games at the beginning of the season. Like those are 350-yard passing games easy for Sawyer Robertson if he's playing 3 quarters, so that's not crazy to get there. Does he need a big leap to hit those numbers? Of course he does. But here's the thing. This is year 2 for Sawyer under Jake Spavital. It's the only year that he's gone into with Jake Spavital going into the season, being the starter, and continuity matters. He returns a ton of guys and his most important ones, right? Like 60 to 80% of the offensive line, depending on how that shakes out. 2 running backs, 2 receivers, big play receivers, and a tight end who's going to play in the NFL. That's a ton of continuity. So it's not crazy to believe there's going to be a sizable jump for Sawyer Robertson statistically with the comfortability of an offseason, the continuity of the guys coming back, and getting more games than he had this past year. But what was most important to me wasn't just looking at the stats that these guys had in their Heisman season. What was more important to me was seeing the stats these guys had the year before their Heisman season. Now, Kyler Murray and Bryce Young won't be on this because they didn't really play enough in their seasons before. They were both basically, Bryce Young was a redshirt freshman and Kyler Murray had come in as a transfer and I think was just Baker's backup in 17. So they didn't get enough snaps for me to count them on this. But he was better. Sawyer Robertson's year this year was better than Caleb Williams in every one of those stats except quarterback rating. Caleb was a little bit better than him, which is hard to believe for those of us who watched him play Baylor. That was a mess that year. Total Dave Aranda masterclass, maybe the best he's ever had at Baylor. But yeah, he was better than Caleb Williams in everything but QBR in the season before the Heisman Trophy. And then that narrows us down to 2 guys, Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels, the 2 LSU quarterbacks. Of all the stats I named, Sawyer Robertson was better across the board than those 2 guys in the year before they won the Heisman Trophy. In every stat we listed here, and let's be honest, I looked at these 2, most of the offensive stats that we care about, Sawyer swept them. That doesn't mean he goes in and wins the Heisman Trophy this year, but I'm saying this all to say it's not crazy to put some money down at plus 6,600. It's not crazy to think that Sawyer Robertson is a legit dark horse Heisman Trophy candidate if we're looking at the numbers. The obvious elephant in the room is he doesn't play at Alabama or LSU or USC or Oklahoma. That's the elephant here. He plays at Baylor. Okay? I get it. The hype's going to be Cade Klubnik at Clemson. It's going to be Arch Manning at Texas. It's not going to be Sawyer Robertson. That's not where the hype's going to be. But statistically speaking, looking at these last 5 quarterback Heisman Trophy winners, Sawyer Robertson is in that class of where they were beforehand, and he projects to be around what they were in their Heisman Trophy seasons. It's not crazy. Win yourself some money. Bet on Sawyer Robertson. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Am I being too delusional about this Sawyer Robertson Heisman candidacy? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're the only place bringing you nothing but Baylor athletics news every single weekday that's not directly in affiliation with the university. So like, subscribe, get involved in that comment section. Appreciate you guys making it your first listen today and every day.